Up first, Cornerstone Wellness Center is back with us to talk all things neuropathy and how they can help you overcome those chronic pains. And we've got a special story to share with you again here on Wave as well. Joining me, Dr. Doug Kane, a.k.a. the Neuropathy Doctor. And you brought a guest, Steve. Steve, you've been on here before talking about your story, and it is a good one. So thanks both of you for joining us here today on this beautiful Monday here in Louisville.
Yeah.
So my story, or the story that I've really connected with since we've been talking to you, since you've been on Listens, I think this is the one that's really connected with the most people, and I really appreciate your willingness to share your story and your willingness to help him share that story, Dr. Kane. So before we get into that and kind of what makes that so special, remind everybody a little bit about who you are and the kind of people you help.
So Dr. Doug Kane, been in practice for almost 35 years now. I'm a chiropractor by education, but because of the holistic viewpoint that we take, we have gotten into helping people reverse neuropathy. Started with my mother about 10 years ago, and so I've been doing this in the office professionally for 9 years now. I'm actually board certified in neuropathy, and we've got about a 98% success rate.
So it is something for you, and we've heard your story on air before as well, which goes back to the chiropractor that helped save your life when you were, I think, 15 years old, and that's why you got into this field. And you've been able to navigate to a point where now you've been doing neuropathy for basically a decade, and you're helping people get back to the point in their life, just like the chiropractor that inspired you to get into this path as well. So reintroduce us, I should say, to Steve.
Okay, so it's my good friend, Steve Bessinger, mechanic by trade.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, he was just having some great difficulty doing what he needs to do. We've talked about how neuropathy typically affects feet, and then the secondary area that we see it most often is in the hands. And, you know, when you're working on, you know, heavy trucks or, well, any kind of motors, a lot of that's, you're working blind, you're working by feel, and when you can't feel, that's a problem.
So then, Steve, my question for you is, walk me through what led you to go into the office and see Dr. Kane. What were you experiencing? What was the straw that broke the camel's back, I guess, that made you want to go in and just see if there's anything that you could do to get back to normal?
Yes. Well, it started, actually, I was told there wasn't anything I could do with neuropathy. It is what it is, and just deal with it. And actually, I found a commercial. It was doing this. I watched this, and I decided to check it out. I had to go several times before I decided I'm going to go in there. So I went in, met the staff, wonderful people, and I decided I'm going to give it a try. I had to come back a couple times because I had to be talked into it. My wife said, yes, do it, go for it. And I said, no, that's too much money. The money has nothing to do with it. What it has done for me is amazing. I've got things back. I can do things I haven't been able to do in several years. And it's all been through his help. And you have to be, for it to be successful, you have to be, your part has to be proactive. You have to be engaged with the program for it to work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a team sport.
Yes. You have to buy into it. You have to be there fully. You can't just be like half one foot in, 1 foot out. You've got to also reciprocate the effort that Dr. Kane's putting in. And one of the things that he mentioned before, and I think you've touched on it too, that moment where you're working at your bench and you're feeling around for a tool or a nut or a screw, and to have this sensation of being able to recognize these small pieces in your hand again is something that you hadn't been able to do for a little bit, but that had to be so exciting, or I don't even know what the word would be, to be able to do that again.
Well, it happened. In my bench, I have a bench, and under there's some cabinets, and I have to reach into those cabinets for tools. And a lot of times I would literally have to get down on the floor because I couldn't feel. couldn't see, but you couldn't feel it. Now, all of a sudden one day, I could tell the difference between the temperature reaching into the cabinet. Never before. And it actually, I'm probably going to get emotional about this, but I could feel it. And I was so excited. It's amazing. You don't realize how much you use your fingers until you can't use them. And that's what was the turning point for me, that I knew this was going to work. And it has worked fantastic.
Dr. Kane, that's just got to be so worth it hearing that.
Absolutely. And, he hit on a couple of things that's important. As men, we tend to put things off. We tend not want to invest in ourselves. We want to spend money on something else. And we're a little hard-headed about that. And, that's one of the reasons why, generally speaking, our wives outlive us. You had been told, well, you had a stroke at one point, and he was told that, this was because of the stroke, and like you said, and nothing can be done about it. That is one of the 140 causes of neuropathy, according to Johns Hopkins. But then he was telling about a motorcycle accident he had. I've seen his x-rays. There's some arthritic degeneration, and that all affects the nerves. The nerves from the legs and feet come from the lower back, which a lot of people have problems with. The nerves to the hands and fingers come from the neck, which is the second most common area for people to have problems with. So that aspect of it plays right into what I do as a chiropractor. But like you said, there's a couple of devices that you use every day at home, and it is a team approach. You've got to do your part as well as me do my part. And so, as anything, the people that do what they're supposed to are the ones that get the best results.
It's like Steve was saying, you have to be bought in as well. It may have taken him some convincing to finally walk through that door, but it sounds like he's incredibly grateful that he did, and he sounds like he's incredibly grateful of you. So call or text that number on the screen if that resonates with you, 812-949-0900. Visit Dr. Kane at mydrkane.com. Guys, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.